Hello everybody, this is Bill McFadden from Tone Pure Music, and in this video we're going to look at a piano that just came out, the Synchron Bösendorfer. It's a great piano. I would say at this point it is my favorite piano. It has a lot of mic positions. Let's just take a quick listen. So this is in the concert position, and if we look at the mix, we can see the microphones that are being used: a room, mix, condenser, mid. And then we have various settings. Over here you see we have room mix settings, we have Decca tree multi-presets, and these are in the standard version. In the extended version you have concert, surround to stereo, and intimate to stereo, and so on. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other factory presets. So going back to the play menu, we have intimate, and then if we look at the mix, we see we have just room and condenser. And then let's take a look at the player preset. And you can see we still have room and condenser, but all of these presets are slightly differently curated. So in this case, the player mode is this: you're sitting at the keyboard and that's what it sounds like as you're playing the piano itself. And then there's a pop preset. And you can see we have 3 microphone positions here. These are all in the standard version. They're all available. The standard version has these 3 as well as the main and main centered. So let's hear what those sound like. So the pop has a little bit more life to it. It's a little, actually what they've done in some of the presets, if you go to the play mode, you can see that the MIDI sensitivity has been increased to 50. And let's go to ambient. You notice our MIDI sensitivity is 0, so it won't be quite as sensitive to the MIDI. Let's hear what that sounds like. And then we have the mighty preset. And if we look at the actual microphones being used, we have room, mix, condenser, and mid 1. And it sounds like this. Now, if you'll notice, there's a delay in the room mix and a little bit of delay in the condenser mic, and even in the mid. So that's what gives you the, you can hear the delays taking place there. Now, one thing I like about having all these mic positions, if you get the extended version, then you can make your own mic mix, not only using the 5 mics that come with the standard version, but you can add in the ribbon mic, which is quite a close mic, and the condenser's close and the tube's fairly close, And so here's a mix where we're using the close mics primarily, and that would sound like this. Now, if I go back to the play menu, you'll notice that there's a little bit of reverb in addition to the natural reverb of the mic positions. It's an algorithmic reverb, so you can move that to taste. And then let's take a look at some of the other presets. We went through the concert, intimate, player, pop, and ambience, and mighty. And then, actually, let's take a look at the concert centered room mix. And then if we look at the mics that are used, we see we have our room mix condenser in mid 1. Now, there are a lot of variables in the interface itself. If we get into the edit mode, we have volume, dynamic range, and tuning, and we can adjust these for all the keys or subsets of the keys or just one key. So if I hit the control or the command key, and then I just drag on the keyboard here a little bit, I'll go up to C4, and then I can move this up and I'll actually get a little more volume in the lower registers. So if I have something where I want to accentuate the lower register, I can. And also we can apply an EQ. So I'll go ahead and widen it out a little bit. So if I want to accentuate this range here, so we have a lot of control, and this is actually a note by note. So there's a volume. I could take the dynamic range, and if I hit the Alt Option button, then it deselects the keys. And suppose I just I'll hit Command and just drag it across these 5 keys, and I could actually decrease the dynamic range just on. So you have a lot of control. And if we go to one of the other presets, these would be the Decca tree multi-mic presets. So there's the concert Decca tree. And if we look at the mix there, you see we actually have the condenser, mid 1 main, and main centered, which would sound like this. So your curated presets give you a very natural sound, and of course you can go in and make your own presets. And if you have the extended version, you can add surround, high surround, as well as mid 2, ribbon, and tube. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of the other curated presets. Let's go to the ambient Decca tree. And so we see we have a slightly different so your volume levels are slightly different. And notice that like in the mid one mic, if you click up here, you actually have some EQ that you can add, and you can actually vary the type of EQ for each of the bands that you have selected. 2 and 3 are active right now. We could turn on 5. So you can actually, for each of the mic positions, you can add EQ. And then if we go to another curated preset, let's take a look at the Mighty Decca tree. And then if we look at the mic positions, we see we have the condenser, mid one, main. These are all standard mic positions. And that would sound like this. Now let's suppose we want a little bit more volume or in the bass range. Then we could go to edit. I could go ahead and deselect these 3 keys, and then maybe from the bottom to C4, I could go ahead and select those, and then actually increase the volume. Now let's hear what that sounds like. Actually, so it gives you the flexibility to increase dynamic ranges in certain sections of the keyboard, or even one note if you want. So let's take another look at one of the other curated presets, the Mighty Decca tree. And at the same time, let's go back to edit, because okay, so everything's back to normal. I'll deselect the keys, although right now they're not changing the volume. And also you can change tuning as well as volume, and you can decrease the dynamic range. All these things are options that you have. So getting back to our mix, now the Mighty Decca tree, you can hear the delay in that. So here there are 3 settings for delay. Actually, one's active, the condenser mic, but also the mid mic, which is active, has a 60 delay, and the main is 150. Now, if you get the extended version, you can get into these presets here. Here's concert surround to stereo. And if we look at what we've got in terms of mic positions, there's the high surround, as well as mid 2, as well as ribbon and tube, which we don't have in the standard version. And that would sound like this. And going to another surround sound, here's the intimate surround to stereo. And so you have your high surround, your condenser, ribbon, and tube. And then we have a few more here, player to surround to stereo. You can see the mic positions there. And in addition to that, let's take a look at ambience surround stereo. So we have high surround as well as mid 2. These two would be standard, but the mid 2, high and high surround would be the extended. Also, the Ronin 2 would be extended version only. And let's take a look at concert-centered surround to stereo. And so here's your mic positions. It looks like we've got just about all the mic positions except for condenser tube in mid 1. And that would sound like this. So you can change any of these. Now, if you have the extended version, we could go ahead and throw tube in if we wanted to, and mid, and make our own preset there, and maybe even the condenser for more closeness over there. So we have all of the mic positions now open. And let's hear the difference. So one thing you definitely do need is you need to have the samples on an SSD in order to minimize your CPU load. So right now we're at about 2%. So the more mic positions you have open, the more, of course, the CPU is going to have to work. If we go to concert, which is just using a few mic positions, as you can see. So one of the things I think best about it is all of the mic positions that you have. So you can, like here's a little preset I wrote. And so at this point, nothing's selected, but they're all loaded into memory. And notice that we've got about 2.6 gigabytes that are memory resident here. So if I hit high surround, I can just hear that. I can solo that by doing that. Then mute it, and then solo the high. And let's try just the surround mic. And so here is your main centered. Okay, I need to activate it. There we go. So just the natural. Actually, if I go into the play, we do have a little bit of, let's take that reverb totally off and go back to our mix. Okay, now we can solo the main. I'll just go ahead and activate the rest of the mic positions, even the room mix, and then solo just the main. So we're not getting the reverb here. This is the algorithmic reverb. We're just hearing the reverb naturally from the hall itself. And then if we go to the mid 2, so it's fairly close, and then the mid 1, activate it. And then if we go to the tube, and then the ribbon, and then we have the condenser by itself. And then let's try the room mix. So you hear the reverb of the room and that natural reverb. So all in all, it's extremely versatile, but the main thing is the sound is just absolutely the best that I've seen yet. So Bill McFadden signing off.